Our next speaker, Estela Baca. Estela, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind sitting and waiting and listening to Estela, she's got some very interesting things to talk to you about. She's going to be speaking to you about endurance through turbulence, right? Resilience in adversity. So Estela, I'm going to set you up and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. I almost face planted it. That's great. You know, always starting good. If I'm going to present, I'm going to laugh at myself first. And I want to thank everybody for staying at the very end. I know it's late and we all want to mingle around. While we sit up here for a little bit, I would like everybody to take a minute and just kind of humor me, okay? I'm going to ask you to do something for me. It's not going to be embarrassing, I promise. And if it is, we're all going to laugh together. But I want everybody to, at the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to touch a part of your head, okay? And you're going to do it with me. We're going to do it together. Are we ready? Yeah? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Everybody touch the top of your head. I love it. So, and the reason why I love this is because everybody is living in the moment. I saw more than half of the room, probably 90% of the room, touching the top of your head. Even though I went to my chin, right? So the reason why I do that is I wanted to see how many of the people sitting here are actually living in the moment, and I love it. I tend to drift away, especially when I am nervous, which I'm not nervous right now, I'm actually very excited, but in real life, when we are with a group of people, we tend to do what we call the mirror effect, right? And so we tend to do what everybody else is doing, right? We mirror the behaviors, we mirror exactly what we see. And so that's exactly the reason why it's very important to surround yourself with people that is like-minded. That's number 1. Number 2, if you are the type of person that stays in the moment, that is wonderful, because that means that you put everything aside to be present, fully present, and either enjoy an ice cream, talk to somebody, or just breathe in and breathe out, right? And so how is this important with the talk that I'm going to be giving today? I actually feel very intimidated, by the way. I mean, we had 2 great speakers out here, somebody that created Pita Bread, which actually I do love. And then we're talking about how AI is affecting SEO, but I'm actually going to talk to you about what is the importance of keeping endurance through turbulence and how resilience in adversity is actually very important, right? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Estela Baca. I had the chance and pleasure to meeting some of you guys. For those of you that don't know me, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background on me. By the way, I do love this picture, not because I look great, but because I'm smiling. I don't tend to smile a lot. And so here's what happens. My favorite phrase is action conquers fear. And the reason why that is because when we are afraid, we tend to paralyze. That's the first thing we do, right? It's animal instinct. The first thing that we do is, I'm in danger, I'm gonna sit here. Reality, when you start walking and talking and breathing and reading, your brain registers, hey, it's not that dangerous, I'm going to do something. So if I am nervous, upset, and scared, I am gonna do an action. I'm probably gonna get up, stretch, or do something else. I'm very passionate about DIB, I'm an advocate for it. And the reason why is because I feel like this is exactly how I come to find my tribe, right? You need people to support your dreams. You need people to come along with you. And so that's the reason why I am supportive about DIB. And then I am a Latinx speaker, right? The one thing I know how to do since I was little is talk. My grandmother used to say that I could talk to the walk. So yes. I do love reading. I discovered that I love running. By the way, shout out to my friend over there, Francesca. She is one of our running club members. And also Eric Mera, by the way. And so I love running, reading, and dancing. I do love eating, but that comes afterwards. I do enjoy doing family time, and I am a proud immigrant and naturalized U.S. citizen. By the way, I was born and raised in that little state right there. It's called, I forgot. Puebla. We have, I forgot, I haven't been there for many years, but nevertheless, it's very close to the Gulf of what we call the Gulf of America now, but that's where I was born. You know what, whatever we call it, we're all enjoying it anyway, so it's okay. Okay, so here's a little bit of background on my education, right? I do have a computer science degree with a minor in business administration. I do hold several certifications in Splunk. The one that I'm the most proud is being an architect. It was very hard. I did have the opportunity to go to the University of Laverne. I went to the University of Barcelona, and I also finished my studies in the Western New Mexico University. I currently do hold memberships in these different areas. I am currently helping Dr. Meta with Amplify Yourself. So if anybody in the room does need a virtual assistant to grow your business, come and talk to us afterwards. I am currently part of the Google Tech Makers Group, and our main focus is to help people that want to make a leap into STEM. There's a lot of individuals that are actually very interested in becoming either going to AI or start a software company, right? Or even just learning what software or development is all about, right? I did join the Google developers, but we're gonna talk about that later, who cares, right? So we're gonna start here. This is my endurance journey from curiosity to a career, right? While I talk to you about these 3 different pictures, I want you to keep in mind this sentence right here. This sentence right here was actually given to me by my grandmother. By the way, I was raised by my grandmother that does not read, neither does she write. She don't. But she always used to tell me that one must not have all the answers, but you have to have the courage to move forward. You have to have the courage to move forward and say, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please teach me? Have the courage to understand your own limitations and find exactly what is it that you fit, right? So right there on the left is me. I don't remember what age I was, but my grandmother said that it was really difficult to manage me, and I think I know why. I always wanted to know the why of everything. I love talking to elders. It's not that I didn't like kids my age, it's just they couldn't answer to me why we were writing, or why did we have to eat the vegetables, or why in the world did I have to read that story over and over again, because I already knew it by memory. And so the one thing I knew is that I did not want to go to school. I hated it. I hated having to read and write, and I knew I was really dumb. Everybody told me I was not smart enough, I talked too much, I wiggled too much. But what I was really good at was making people laugh and hurting everybody. I could put a whole room together and we could do whatever because I said so. It was great. Hold on. This thing is going backwards. There we go. And so anyways, I grew up with my grandmother for 15 years. The one thing that she taught me really good was read banking ledgers. I learned how to read banking ledgers at the age of 7 because she didn't know how to read and write. And so my mom had to immigrate to the United States so that we could eat, right? That's the way it works. And so I had to go to the bank and kind of explain to my grandmother what was a plus, a minor. And sometimes I didn't understand, so she would tell me that. Remember, you don't have to have the answers. You just have to have the courage to go up to the teller and ask her, where do I deposit this money? Where do I go here? Where do I go there? By the age of 10 years old, I had learned how to handle money and how to balance a checking account, which was kind of weird, right? So I didn't want to tell my friends. That sounded kind of weird. And so when I turned 15, which is right around in the middle, right, I looked pretty confused and sad. And that's the reason. The reason was because I had to move here to the United States. Did not speak the language at all. And I did not want to go to school. Remember that. I did not want to go to school. My idea was, I was a farmer, by the way, with my grandmother. So she taught me how to grow pigs and chickens, and I know everything about agriculture, which was great. That was my idea. I was going to be a farmer. Didn't know if I was going to get married, but I didn't have to read a book, so it was great for me. So then my mom comes along and she says, no. You're going to move here. You're going to learn another language, and you're going to go to school, and you're going to travel. And I'm like, great. When am I supposed to do this? I don't know. And so anyways, I get here and I'm like, Mom, how am I supposed to go to school, right? She said, don't know, figure it out. In this country, if you have good grades, they're going to give you something called a scholarship. And I was like, oh, so you don't have money for this? She said, no, you do. And I'm like, oh, from where, right? I don't see any money. And she said, yes, it's called your grades. You're going to go and she said, remember that phrase Grandma used to always say? You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have the courage to go look forward. So I did. I went to talk to my counselor. She was amazing. She got me into a program, qualified for a full scholarship to a private school, the University of Lamar. And I went out on my merry way. I did make it to college. And that's me over there, graduating 4 years after. And I live happily ever after. Wrong. What a lie, right? They all tell us, go to college, get educated, you're going to do great. It was going wonderful. I mean, I even got to go to Spain and study abroad for a year. Here's the problem. Life is always going to test your resilience, right? So exactly that's what happened. But I really wish that I would have understood that failure is really not the end. it is only the proving point, right? It's only paving the path for what you are destined to do once you understand what is it that you want to do, right? I didn't see it that way. I was like, oh my God. So how did I fail? Very typical. I am a grown-up. I am going to make my own decisions, and I'm no longer going to respond to my mother. I no longer have to do what she tells me, and guess what? I don't have to have all the answers, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And I became a mom. Wonderful. No job, no finished college, but I was a grown-up. And I still needed to figure out my career, right? So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is great. Life is really testing my resilience, right? I don't know if any of you guys in here have children, but there is nothing harder than being the CEO of your kids. Those little ones are gonna really tell you exactly how bad you are, how much you suck, and how much you really don't know what you're doing. And I was like, oh my God, and then I'm supposed to have a career? How am I supposed to do this? Grandma's initial words are not gonna work with me, right? So how many of you guys in the room right now are having a startup? Can you please go ahead and raise your hand? Do it with conviction. Go ahead and do it. There you go. That's it. You are now, my friends, in your parent life. You are seeing your baby grow. You are taking the first steps. And sometimes you go home and don't get to sleep because that baby is still in your head crying and making you think, so when are we taking off again, right? When you get to that point and you feel like you are failing, remember, I wish I would have understood this 10 years ago. I understand it now. Failure is not really failure. It's just proving your ground. That's all you're doing, okay? So with that in mind, when you already fail forward, right? I call it failing forward. The reason why I believe on that is, think about when you're a kid, right? When a kid starts walking, it takes forever for them to stop walking. But have you ever seen a little kid that just sits down and never wants to walk again? I haven't. Those little kids fall and then they do it all over and over again, right? They're very resilient. And so what they do in their mind, and this is the thing that we forget as we grow older, we forget that we're rebuilt through resilience. And so when you're rebuilding to resilience, think about the fact that rebuilding is done by design and not by chance. Think about that for a second, okay? Oh, I'm gonna rebuild something. Well, do you just rebuild it with your eyes closed? Or are you methodical about it? And so when you are rebuilding, you have to train for whatever it is that you are rebuilding for. If you fail, for example, it's your first startup, I don't think startups really fail. I think what really happens is what we call the prototype. Every time that I fail in something, I think about Edison or even Steve Jobs. I think he failed several times and he did wonderful. So think about that while you're going through your rebuilding phase. Now, here are some of the tools that actually helped me once I decided I was going to rebuild myself, right? So this actually happened when my child was about 2 years old, and I was literally probably making about $10 an hour babysitting while taking care of my kid, and I'm thinking, okay, I am almost done with a computer science degree. I literally just have to finish a semester. What are the tools that are gonna help me, right? And so the very first book that I remember reading while I was putting my kid to sleep was The Alchemist. How many of you guys in the room have ever read that book or heard of the book, right? Very inspirational. So I think I remember sitting there one afternoon and thinking, I wonder how many of us in the world start a journey. The journey goes to the side and you have the choice to either keep on walking or probably making a new path, right? And then I started reading other books. In the meantime, I started to learn how to breathe. How many of you guys under stress have noticed that you stop breathing? Very important. It's funny because we think that because we're existing, we're breathing. We're not. Sorry to tell you. For those of you that are carrying an iWatch, I used to have one and I threw it away because that thing used to annoy the life out of me. Every 15 seconds used to tap me, you're not breathing, you're not breathing. I was like, I know I'm not breathing. What do you mean I'm not breathing? I am under stress. What do you want? So I continued reading, and I also started picking up running. For me, running is a way to kind of come back to myself and kind of a meditation process. Some of you guys probably have a different meditation process. Some of you probably go to the gym, talk to your friends, take a walk, whatever it is that you need to do to decompress. Continue doing it while you're going through the rebuilding phase. Is going to be one of your best tools. Of course, there is no rebuilding without support. So it was very important for me to find my gurus. To find a guru, you don't necessarily have to pay. You can sometimes find gurus in a library, maybe through a family member, right? Some of you guys that may be religious, you can find a guru there. But you definitely want to lean on your mentorships. I strongly believe that if I listen to somebody that is successful, there's a very good chance that I'm going to learn how to do it. I will probably not become the next crazy pita holder or have a restaurant that big. I wish, I hope. But one thing I could learn from the talks that we hear here is, how did they do it, right? If they did it, how can I not do it myself too, right? You kind of have to put that fuel into it. And so community is very important. I think that what I like the most since I started coming to the Tech Alley is seeing a lot of you individuals supporting each other, supporting the new startups, giving each other feedback, right? It's very important. You need that. It's a very, very important tool while you're rebuilding. So now, other tools that help me, believe it or not, is starting to accept and learn to love my fears, right? How many of you guys have fears that you wish you can slide under a rug? Come on, I know you're out there. Well, yeah, it's true. It takes a while, right? But if you think about being afraid, it's all about the framework. Think about what fear can actually really stand for. I have learned to accept and love fear if I look at this specific format right here. For me, fear means when I encounter a difficult situation, the first thing I do, I focus. What is this situation about, right? And that's difficult, especially being a feisty person, so my grandmother will say. She used to say that I used to get upset and I will right away say I don't like it and I will scream and kick, right? So with the years, we have to learn that you have to take a deep breath and focus in what is this specific moment trying to teach me. Second part is the emotional commitment, right? You have to come to the agreement with yourself. Is it worth putting my energy into this? And if it is worth it, can I fix it, right? So there's where your emotional commitment is gonna go. I'm going to commit to this specific challenge to move and fail forward. Next one is the action, right? Now that you already triaged those two parts, what action am I gonna take? In my case at the time was, I am broke, I messed up, I was doing great. I only have 1 semester left to have a computer science and actually make money, because that's why I went into computer science. I thought that in 10 years I was gonna be making great money, so why stop there, right? Because I had a kid? Come on, not enough. 2 legs, 2 arms, still able to walk, I could do it. So that was my next action. My action was finding a way to get myself back into school. And last but not least, responsibility. We have to take responsibility for every action that we take, and not to make us feel like you did it wrong, you did it right, but take responsibility knowing that whatever it is that you went through was there to help you become who you are today, right? Now, how many in the room today feel like you are trying to, number one, identify your fear, accept it, and love it? And there you go. Can one of you individuals that lift your hand go ahead and tell me what is it that you're so afraid of? Let's start with Gary back there.
Immediately having the fear that it fails because something is not arrived that you haven't planned. All of a sudden, you have fear because I screwed up. And it's like, no, this doesn't necessarily connotate that. And I have the ability to correct it. So that's when I step out, I start to focus, go through the emotional acceptance of what I need to do, take action, and remember, whatever I may have done to leave myself there, not to repeat that, but to continue to move forward.
Thank you, Dad. I think that was probably hard for you to say, especially in public, so I appreciate that. I saw somebody on the other side. Who was the other person that raised their hand on this side? Come on. I saw somebody on this side raise their hand. Okay, sir, if you don't mind telling me, what is it that you're afraid of, and what are you committing to love today?
The fear of yes. Success.
Why is that?
Because that means there's a lot more work and there's more at stake.
Yeah, that's actually very deep. And that's exactly sometimes what happens to all of us, right? What if I fail? But what if you succeed? That right there sometimes is scary in itself, right? With success comes a lot of responsibility. It comes a lot of time that you might not spend with your family. It might come a new rebranding, a new discovery of yourself. That in itself, not knowing the unknown part, is very fearsome. Now, here's other tools that actually helped me go from being completely broke, no finishing school, to getting to where I am today. So I actually got me career coaching. I honestly learned from my mother and from my grandmother, which, reminder, doesn't know how to read and write, that the best thing you can do for yourself is invest in yourself, right? So it took me years before I actually went and bought me a pair of shoes that was brand new. I was always shopping in yard sales and actually wearing hand-me-downs, because my train of thought was I'm going to save every penny so that I can get myself to school, and I'm gonna get me a career coach. I want that person to tell me exactly which one of my skills is good enough so that I can get up and walk out there as the best person I can be, right? And so in that process, my career coaches taught me a great strategy to advocate for myself. That is so hard, and I don't know about you guys, but being a Latina and growing up where I grew up, I had no voice, no vote, and no decision-making whatsoever, okay? My expectation from my family was, you're not gonna go to school, you're stupid, you're too hyper, you're gonna get married, and somebody's gonna provide for you. I don't wanna hear it because you're not smart enough. So I actually came to believe that really, really bad lie, because it was a lie. And so when I went through my career coach, I learned, you know what am I good at? How often do I do it good? Oh, that's how good I am, perfect. I'm not gonna flaunt it, but I'm going to share with people what is it that I'm good at and how can I help somebody else with that skill, right? And it came in handy when I went full force into my career. Last but not least, this was very important. I had to learn how to tell a story. I thought I knew how to tell a story because my grandmother always taught me to tell her novelas. How many of you guys know what a novela is? You know what? It was great that they're awful. You know why? Because they give you drama and love and suspense. And your grandma, my abuelita, will tell me, you gotta come and tell me what happened. Who did Chucho kill? And I was like, God darn it, who was Chucho and why was he here again? Right? And so it was through the novelas that I learned that storytelling in my vocabulary was called chisme, which is tattletale, right? But I was a great tattleteller. I could tell you who did what, how they did it, how it happened, the exact shirt that they were wearing, and why in the world were they looking at the other way. That's why my auntie used to hate me so much, because I used to tell my grandmother when she was kissing the boyfriend. Yeah, even if she was in the other pillar, okay? I knew it. I could have been a great investigator, by the way. But anyways, if you are in that, and you are a new owner of your own brand, this is gonna be very important for you, storytelling. Sorry to tell you, my friend, don't matter what product you have, no matter how good it is, if you don't know how to tell people how good it is, you're never gonna sell anything. And if you do not sell, you're not gonna make money. I think one of my favorite stories was when I saw Steve Jobs present the very first iPhone. Oh my God, I can watch that speech over and over again and feel chills down my spine. Guy knew nothing about programming. God knows he knew nothing about hardware or software or even business. But you know what he knew about? The storyteller. He knew exactly the importance of collecting data. He knew exactly how to analyze that data to know the market that he was pitching at. He knew how to practice journaling. How many of you guys in this room have been journaling, writing down what you want to do? Yeah? How many of you guys? Come on. Good. I remember the first time I got journaling, my mom had sent me this really ugly pink notebook, which as a little girl, I hated pink because it was for little girls, and I was not a little girl. I was a tough, I don't know what, but anyways, so I grabbed my little pink thing and I said, Dear Diary, today, and then I was like, oh my God, I hate writing, this sucks. So I stopped journaling. Nevertheless, when I started putting my toolkit, I started journaling. Dear Diary, in a year from now, I'm going to have a degree. In a year from now, I am actually gonna land this job. In a year from now, I will be holding this position. And sometimes it seemed a little bit ambitious, but it seemed to me that every time I put it down in that journal, Somehow it happened. And so, last but not least, you have to remember, in storytelling, you have to own your own history. Be your own historian. Be ready to tell people when was your pivotal moment so that you can explain to them your, aha, that's exactly where I found it. Steve Jobs was great at that. Be your own narrator. Think about yourself as the main character of your story and tell people, and then the character did this. And then this is when it happened, and she fell down on her face, and she got up and she rose, or whatever it is that you want to write. But it's all about your storytelling skills. You have to do that when you go for an interview. You have to do that wherever you want to go. And of course, I had to drop this. But you have to do that every time that you want to reach your goal, right? You have to be able to eloquently tell who you are, why you're there, why are you the best fit, and what should the person pick you. Now, this is very important, right? How do we turn pain into purpose? Rebuilding is painful. Whether you're rebuilding your life, your house, a career, or even your brand, it's painful. Oh my gosh, I used to love it when people would say, I have a college degree. I used to think, oh my goodness, you must have a wonderful life. Your life might have started right here, and then it went up, and now you have a career, and you're doing amazing. I want to be there. Nobody told me that when you go into the real world, you start over there, but my path looked more like that. And I was like, holy cow, where's the straight line? Nobody told me there was no straight line, right? Congratulations, people, there's none. They lied to us. And when it comes to a startup, there's no bigger lie than thinking that you have to stay within the box and you have to color the same way. No way. Only the people that are willing to go through the loops and probably not even get to the top, but they end up all the way in the sky, are the ones that are actually going to make it, right? And what happens in there? When you learn how to turn your pain into purpose, you go from just simply surviving to surviving and leading. It kind of sounds funny, right? Because when you're surviving and leading, now you're actually taking control of who you are. You're taking all that pain and saying, you know what? That was painful. I think it was last year that I decided I was going to run my very first half marathon. And I did it because I had gone a very big transformation in my life. And I thought, what can I do to sap me enough to make me believe in myself again, right? And I was like, fine, I never have run a half marathon. I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to be really bad at it. I'm probably going to come all the way in the back. But I just want to say I did it and I survived it. So I did. I had to train for several months. And I had a great group of friends that trained with me. This is where I met Francesca. This is where Dr. Mera came along in my journey. And that's where my tribe came in, right? I had a tribe of people that helped me, and I turned my pain into purpose. The purpose was to teach myself again I could rebuild myself as a brand, as a person, and find new horizons. And so for you people today, the new startups, I would like to ask you, how many of you guys feel like you guys are now living your stage of life from surviving to leading? That's good. What about the rest of the room? What's going on there? Are we not feeling the pain? Do we need to go running together? What's happening? Did I put you to sleep? No? It sounds to me like you want to say something and I want to hear it.
Well, what was your question? How many of you feel like you're leaving from surviving to leading?
Yeah, how many of you guys feel like you're going from surviving to leading? You survive enough. You already went through all of the pain and you're like sitting there for a while. How many of you guys feel like you're going from surviving to leading? Good. That's really good. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, right? It takes a little bit of time to say, this is where I am. Oh my God, this is where I am. But if you are in that place, ask yourself, what am I leading to? Well, if you're leading to your next meeting to get funding for your startup, that's actually really good. And if you walk out of there after you tell your great story with the money, that's even better. So here we go. Come on, clicky. Lorraine, I killed the clicky. The clicker is like, make her stop, please.
Okay.
I did kill it, told you. Perfect, thank you. I appreciate it. So while we're going through this whole survival thing, right? So I already talked about how I had to face plant it, come to the realization that as a grown-up, I was gonna fail, and it's okay. Now I'm already rebuilding, but What did I do also? How did I do it, right? I had to ask myself what was my North Star. Oh my God, I remember the first time I heard that word. Speaking Spanish, I remember when they say North Star, the first thing I used to think about was like, we're planting? Like, that's exactly what my uncle used to say when we used to plant oranges. I don't want to plant oranges, what in the world? And so my career coach was like, no, we're talking about what's making you go towards your goals. That's your North Star, the final thing that you want to reach. And I was like, I have to have a goal. North Star never told me this. He was like, if you don't have a North Star, how do you truly know what you're working towards, right? Why do you want to get a computer science degree? And I was like, oh my God, because I'm going to make more money, duh. But then I sat there and I was like, really? Because when I picked computer science was because I didn't speak English. I was good at math, and I thought I was going to sit my entire life writing code without having to talk to someone. Oh my God, I would have died. I like talking to people a little too much. I'm too much of an empath to stare at a computer and say to somebody, how are you doing today? So that would have failed. So I had to rethink about what my North Star was, right? And so what I had to do at that point, I had to start using the STAR method. What is the STAR method? I had to analyze my situations every day. I had to do a task that was actually going to lead me to the goals that I wanted. I had to take the action. See, that's the thing that has always been the same line for me my entire life. What action you're going to take? What action are you going to take to make grandma be so happy with you to give you money for your candy? What action are you going to take to stop being afraid? What action are you going to take to get yourself on a stop, right? And the results. What results do I ultimately want, right? Because if I'm going to spend all these hours studying, what do I really want to do? Do I just really want to write code, or do I just want to make a lot of money? I like making money, but you know what? Ultimately, what I like the most is impacting people's life. That's what I really like. And so last but not least, while you're refocusing, what's going to happen is at some point you're going to find out that you are going to learn more than the next person next to you. And there might be somebody looking at you thinking, how did you do it, right? Sometimes when we learn something, we forget how difficult it was for us to learn it, that we tend to teach with less empathy ever. How can you be so dumb? It's not that difficult. I have found myself in that situation, by the way, and then I have to come back and rethink. What my terminology is not your terminology. So I have to be empathetic enough that if I tell you LLMs, you might not know what an LLM means. If I walk into a room where people are actors and I say, oh, we're going to go ahead and tune the LLMs, everybody's going to look at me like, what? And I'm going to look at them like, what? But then I have to remember we don't speak the same language. So I have to empathetically tell them large language models. That's exactly what we're going to teach so that your entire operation runs smooth, right? Lead with empathy. Last but not least, after you have found your North Star, remember, help someone. In the process of helping somebody, you are going to find out what you really are made of, what you learned. And when you teach somebody else what you just learned, you're going to realize that you probably know more than what you did, and you're going to also find your blind spots. Now, when you turn your pain into purpose, this is exactly what my grandmother used to tell me all the time. By the way, I live by the grandma code. And the reason why is because my grandmother became a widow at the age of 30 with 8 daughters, no reading, no writing, and she raised all of us. 4 of them are business owners, and the rest of us, more than one of us, we have doctors, we have lawyers. I have a computer science degree, work for a great company called Splunk as a cybersecurity log management solutions engineer. So I do believe in the grandma methodology. When you turn your pain into purpose, you can rise, but also take others with you all the time. It's very necessary. Can you imagine what our life would have been like if the first human that discovered fire would have gone home and never told anybody about it? I don't think I would have enjoyed pizza. And I don't think none of you guys would have enjoyed your favorite meals or even have a wonderful hotel because we wouldn't have been able to melt metals. Just think about it for a second. So when you think that you can take your secrets with you to the grave, you're not helping anybody. Help. That's the only reason that you're going to find your purpose and turn it into something successful after the pain. Last but not least, I want to leave you guys with this mantra. This is my daily mantra. I came up with it after years and years. I don't want to call it suffering, but I want to call it falling in my face and enjoying it, because that's what it is, right? When I grew up and I didn't have parents, because both of my parents, one had to leave the country, The other one, unfortunately, was not equipped to be a parent. And my grandmother loved me very greatly, but she didn't know how to read and write. So what was she going to teach me? You know what she taught me? The most important thing in life: have the courage to move forward. So I recite this every day, and I remind myself this all the time. Rise stronger, knowing that you own your own journey. It is testing your resilience, showing you that there is no failure, only proving ground. It taught you that the resilience is built by design, no chance, and you can train for it. Remember to stay grounded, to face, own, and love your fears. It will help you to turn pain into purpose and take you from surviving to leading. It will help you find your North Star, and when you clearly see it, don't forget, share your story with someone and help. After all, resilience isn't the absence of a struggle, but the decision to rise again. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. For those of you that are looking for a mentor or probably making a pivotal moment from just having your regular career, making it into tech, or you just want to talk to somebody about what your ideas are, come and talk to me. I do have a great network of people. Again, if you need a developer, I'm not a developer, but I do have, I am part of the Google Developers Tech Maker, so we have tons of people willing to help and mentor. And if anybody of you guys does need a virtual assistant, again, come talk to me and Dr. Mehta. We do help businesses in the Valley scale up. Again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Estela, again for being brave and telling everyone your story. And it's a great story. I think you're a very successful young lady, and I wish you all the success in the future. Thank you so much, everyone. Estela.